Hello and welcome back. I am not Bob Maher. Bob's having some technical difficulties. Hopefully we'll get him on later in the show. But I do have Rachel Agnes. Hello, Rachel.
Hello. He could not face me after what happened.
Oh, jeez. His draws were kind of brutal. The turn one kill?
It happens. I looked at my hand. I thought it did not have a force, of course. You always in Vintage would like to have a force, but it was an okay hand. It was definitely keepable against I had no idea what he was going to be on.
I was about to ask if you had a read.
Yeah, no, I really had no idea. So I thought, hey, there's a chance I have recall. Recall could maybe get me a force. I don't know. I don't know if you can mulligan like a hand with a recall in it.
You can't mulligan that hand, no. You have to keep that hand. I think your decision, that's the only decision you made that game. I thought it was right, but yeah, his hand was kind of nuts. The turn one Mind's Desire.
The deck is really good. It does that a lot. We haven't seen it a lot on VSL. Like, I feel like when people play it on VSL, it's always those really weird hands that you actually don't get super often with that deck. But yeah, and then game two, I mulliganed, and then obviously I know I didn't have a force, but I had the Canonist. I chose to, I don't know if people, I don't know what people were thinking, but I chose to strip the Underground Sea because I thought there's a good chance that he either tutored for Toxic Deluge or he tutored for Chain of Vapor. So it's like I play both of them and lose to Deluge, or I don't and lose to Chain of Vapor. So I chose to strip his Sea to get him to respond if he had the Vapor. He didn't, so played the second one, but yeah.
So you were legit thinking about Toxic Deluge as a thing he could have. I have a Toxic Deluge on my sideboard of that deck sometimes. I think Reed usually has one, which is the list people copy the most. But I personally don't bring it in until I see a creature I need to kill, like a Meddling Mage or an Aethersworn Canonist. I just rely on Chain of Vapor. So if your choice was, do I play around Chain or do I play around Deluge, I think you're completely correct to play around Chain.
Yeah, I think the list that I'm most familiar with is the Reed list, which plays I think 2 Chains, main, and 1 Deluge board. So I thought he would probably bring it in against me, also because he probably has an idea better of what I'm on. So even though he didn't see a lot game one, he probably pretty much knows. But at the same time, there's 2 Chains. I mean, he tutored, so he could have gone whichever one he wanted, but.
Yeah, look, your line would have destroyed me. I would not have had a Toxic Deluge in my deck if I was in Bob's seat. So it didn't work. Obviously, Bob had us, outfought both of us, apparently. Credit to him. And then obviously he left himself in this spot where it still wasn't obvious. Like, he's now back in the game, but he's set himself up to give you a turn, then play outcome for 3. Okay, he top decks an artifact, so it turns out to be an outcome for 4. And then, he just had... So his only gas off the outcome, you couldn't see his hand, by the way. That Preordain found the Tendrils. That was it. He was on a bunch of artifact mana, a Preordain, and, 2 cards. Let's take this Tendrils of Agony. Oh, yeah, I have exactly the mana I need and exactly the storm count I need.
Man, oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, he went down to, I think 2 cards in hand. And then when he was, tapping his mana, I was like, boy, do you have another outcome? Like, really? And it was worse than another outcome.
Yup. All right. Well, that was last match. Now we have David Williams against David Ochoa.
It's the battle of the Daves.
It is. It's the battle for David's supremacy, a mirror match, if you will. What do you think these guys are on? I don't know how much you're thinking you've done about this. I mean, you've known what group you're in for a while, but it was after you turned the deck list in. Do you have predictions?
I would think that David Ochoa is on Shops. From what I remember about past VSLs that I watched, he played a lot of it. So I'm thinking he's on Shops. David Williams, I don't know. He could be on something interesting. What do you think?
He is definitely capable of playing a brew. He has played a couple of brews over the years. I feel like he's had a little more success when he's been a little closer to the mainstream. He definitely is a guy who errs on the side of blue cards, but yeah, I do actually know the answer, so I'm trying not to.
Oh yeah, don't give it away yet. It's Brews Day Tuesday, possibly. We will see.
Brews Day Tuesday, I like that.
Yeah, or he can surprise us both and just play the most stock list possible, just stock shops list,
Yeah, I think Webb, you kind of have to assume he's on workshops until he proves otherwise. But
yeah, absolutely. I think that's what I would figure when preparing for the tournament in general. Now, of course, as you know, and I think the viewers at this point know, we didn't know who we were going to play. So you had to submit your deck, 3 weeks ago. And I thought there was going to be a lot of people on shops. There's going to be a lot of people on Mentor. And then there'd be like a few kind of like fringe decks, which are harder to prepare for. That is the benefit of playing.
You put us on Outcome too. You definitely had a sideboard for Outcome.
Oh yes. Sorry, I forgot about that. Yes, that's why I was like so. Oh my god, it hurt so badly because my sideboard was full of stuff for a Paradoxical Outcome.
Yeah, no, we've got it up on screen right now. 3 Canonists and 2 Stony Silence and a couple of Flusterstorms. You were ready for this matchup.
I don't play when it comes to combo.
I guess not.
Yeah, hey. What I kind of skimped on was I don't really have a lot of stuff for Oath. So that's something, but it's kind of fallen off.
You don't have any Dredge Hate either, right?
I don't think so, but I mean,
one
if someone is more, they have more confidence than me, they might play it because of that.
Interesting. 1 Grafdigger's Cage is your answer to Oath and Dredge, huh? Now, talk to me about...
To be fair, Dredge, from what I understand, is still bugged. So that does help me a little bit.
Right. The one of the versions of Dredge is bugged. That's
yes, yeah. You can still play the pitch version, but I don't think it's as, potent.
So what led you to go Grixis Mentor instead of the Sylvan Mentor you were on for the play-in?
I'm playing Jeskai.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's of course. So I love Sylvan Mentor, but against a wider field, I like Jeskai a little bit better. You kind of with Sylvan Mentor, you really sacrifice with your mana. So it's great. It's amazing against other Mentor decks. But against a wider field, it's a little bit worse. So because even though I knew that there was going to be a lot of Mentor, Jeskai's a little bit, I don't want to say it's great on its mana because it also has its own, it's not perfect, but it's a lot better
It's better.
Yeah.
I'll give you better. 3 colors is easier than 4.
Yeah, it's definitely better. So it's a little bit better it's worse against Mentor, a little bit better against Wastelands. I'm not playing any Wastelands, so just the 1 Strip Mine. Got it.
That makes sense. So in the play-in, you expected a bunch of Mentor mirrors, and here you knew you'd have to guard against Shops decks.
And now I feel like I'm punished. Man, I mean, not that playing Sylvan would have helped me in that regard, but man, I feel like I strayed away from my one true love, and now
I mean, based on the way that game played out, you were ready for the matchup. You can't play mad on deck selection. That's just what happens. You're playing Vintage, right? None of the matchups are that lopsided, and sometimes you ancestral, you don't have a Force of Will, and they just kill you on the first turn.
Force of Will is kind of the glue that holds this format together. That's sort of the thing is when you're playing shops, right? If someone can turn 1 you and you're on the draw, you kind of chose to play a deck that doesn't have Force in it. It's without Vintage or without Force. I don't know what Vintage would even look like.
All right, we saw Rachel's deck list. We can put Bob's up now potentially. While we're still getting David and David set up for the next match.
Yeah, let's see if we have some spice.
I don't see a ton of... Oh, he's got the Vault Key combo in the main deck.
Oh, that's interesting. I kind of like that.
It is. Yeah, no, I debated. I tried Vault in the main deck, Time Vault. I tried Blightsteel in the main deck. I actually ran my Blightsteel in the main. His is in the sideboard. But he's got, similar to me, he can tinker out, just a combo. Vault Key is nice. It's funny, though. Vault Key in this deck, you still have to Storm kill them. If they have something that stops Tendrils of Agony, getting the Vault Key combo doesn't actually win you the game because it's not like there's a creature or a planeswalker to win the game with.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
It's funny. Ultimately that's why I went with the Blightsteel in the main instead of the Vault Key because, usually when you put Vault Key together, your opponent will just scoop, but this deck doesn't actually win the game.
You actually have to do it the hard way.
Right. If there's an Arcane Lab or there's a Leyline of Sanctity or something, you just don't win.
Plus, it kind of does feel, I don't know. I kind of would be on the Blightsteel plan. It also feels pretty amazing, and you can get so many just free wins with that.
Yeah, in particular, I like Blightsteel in the Shops matchup. And like that's not a great matchup for you. So being able to just, well, I only need to resolve one spell, and suddenly I have this 11/11 monster. That's how I beat Eric the game that I beat Eric.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Out of curiosity, see, I'm not in my head, I'm very much not a combo player. Are you scared? Like, you have to know that Shops is such a huge portion of the format. Does that scare you playing a deck like Paradoxical Outcome?
Sure, you're not happy that the matchup exists, but I actually find the Ballista version of the Shops deck, like, walking Ballista is terrible against you. It's so slow. So if you're on the play, you think your mentality, if you're playing Storm, is I can just kill them on the first turn. So if I'm on the play, I'll win game 1 and 3, no problem. And then it's like, well, breaking serve is tough when they get to go first. But if you have enough lands and Hercles, it's like you at least have a plan. It doesn't always work, but you have this plan of, I just need to play enough lands, resolve one Hercles recall to reset, and then storm off and win. All right, well, we've got a match queued up. Let's get down to round 2. Hello and welcome to round 2. David Ochoa is on exactly the Ravager Workshops deck everybody expected him to be on. David Williams has gone for Mentor. Yeah. Wow, main deck Fragmentize, and it's in his opener against Shops, although there's no white mana in that opener.
Oh.
Still, 2 cantrips. He's probably fine. He's probably expecting the Shops matchups. I think that's probably an easy keep. Looks like Ochoa has won the die roll.
Yeah, I have a main deck Fragmentize too, so that's actually kind of awesome that we completely apart came to that.
Webb's hand is not great. It's a 6-card hand he's down to, yeah. And it's a Tangle Wire and a Walking Ballista.
Yeah.
And a Wasteland. I mean, I guess you have to keep that on 6, right?
I think so. I think you're priced into it. I don't think going to 5 is better, and also like these decks don't have a great way to like reaccrue advantage if they go lower. And Tangle Wire is actually like pretty insane. That card has always surprised me. Like I'm gonna say it's innocuous. Everyone knows it's really good, but you play it and it's ridiculous.
No, yeah, I hear you. I still have this knee-jerk reaction against it. Like, oh, I can just wait it out. It's just you never actually can wait it out.
You can't.
Somehow. Webb's line makes sense to me here. Lead with the Ballista. Next turn, he's set to either Wasteland or Tangle Wire. Probably the Wasteland. Williams gets to see what he's up against. Ooh, he drew the Dak Faden. That's pretty good in this matchup.
Definitely. He also has the Flooded Strand, so he has access to white mana when he wants it as well.
Man, perfect information, too. So how is Williams going to sequence this?
Looks like he is.
Wasteland. Interesting. I like it.
Yeah.
He's got a handful of mana.
I mean, it makes David's Wasteland not great.
Ochoa's Wasteland.
Yes,
gotta go with last.
Oh my gosh, they're both David. Interesting.
All right, Ballista chips over for 1. Yeah,
the
Ochoa.
only thing that Williams has going for him is that, or that the other David has going for him, is that David Williams' hand is not very fast. Now, of course, that could change, but at least, I mean, the Mentor decks can have a lot of pressure super quickly, and that doesn't look like it's shaping up to be like that.
I think that's okay in this matchup, though. If he's got a Plow and he's got a Fragmentize, so 2 different 1-mana removal spells. I find if the Mentor deck is able to resolve those, 1-mana white removal spells, it gets the time to eventually find the Mentor. Shops is the beatdown in a weird way.
And he drew the Force, which is pretty phenomenal for him.
Yeah, I think Williams went with this basic island line in part because he get probed Ochoa, saw the Wasteland, but Ochoa has since drawn a strip mine. Williams is not gonna be happy to see this strip mine come out of Webb's hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, down goes Basic Island.
I mean, you can get taxi and probe someone, but you don't get a chance to see the top of their deck. So there's always surprises.
Oh, the strip mine can hit the wasteland here. That's actually quite a good draw. I was thinking that poor Flooded Strand, that Tundra was going to be one shot, but yeah, Williams is like, no. Your wasteland can have my strip mine. Let's just pick these up, put them over there, and play on. Mm-hmm. I'll keep taking one for a while. You can sit with that stupid Tangle Wire in your hand. I don't even have any permanents. All right, well, here's a payoff card. Ravager actually, quadruples the clock? Something like that?
I doubt that it's going to end up doing enough, but with his swords and his Fragmentize and the reactive spells that he has in his hand, but...
Yeah, Williams chose not to Force of Will it, so he'd rather use a removal spell on it.
Yeah, I think I was him... You feel he also knows about the Tangle Wire, so he might just be. He doesn't have anything other than the Force of Will to deal with the Tangle Wire, so he'd probably rather just use the like swords or things like that before.
Yeah, I mean he can if he fragmentizes here, because swords is an instant, he can do that during his upkeep as response to a Tangle Wire. I'm still kind of curious to see how Williams sequences this. Fragmentize is the Ballista, not the Ravager, so. He's willing to let
because if you fragmentize the Ballista, it's like he either has to like sacrifice it to the Ballista to like deal you more damage, which is like nothing. It's just the best way I feel like to deal with this situation, because then you're gonna swords the Ravager and it's not gonna have. You hope it's not gonna have modular.
And a creature off the top. And Hangerback Walker. That's not good for Williams. Yeah. Ochoa plays a 2/2 Hangerback. And there's only do you Force a Will this? I think you Force a Will this. Yeah, I think I like this. Okay.
I think so. Force a Will says. I mean, you'd rather use your Force on the Tangle Wire, but.
Nah, but I think you have to let Hangerback. Swords to Plowshares gets to deal with this Ravager. Now, okay, it's a Tangle Wire on a blank board. It's not that scary.
Right. Especially he has like nothing. He has to draw into something.
Yeah, the scary part for Williams is that just the one Tundra.
Yes.
Now, all right, here's a Thorn. So Williams has done casting spells for a little while. Even that Brainstorm is going to require him to top deck a land. But he did kill all the threats. Guerrilla Warrior is here.
I think this is an awesome inclusion. I've played it a few times in like the improvised decks, and it felt insane. And hey,
look, it got Force of Willed, and he'd had to get Force of Willed. That card was going to win the game in 4 turns.
Mm-hmm.
All right, a Plow that he's 1 mana short of.
Yeah, that Thorn actually ended up being really great for Webb. Even though you think like, oh, it's like so late in the game, but because of Shops was doing exactly what Shops is supposed to do, and just even though it's turn whatever, he has a Tundra in play. And it's not because he didn't have any lands, it was because he's just slowly picked them all off.
Factory's
not bad.
No, it's a clock. That's all Ochoa wants. Oh, he's going to go ahead and Tangle Wire so that Williams can't play any potential blockers or Stony Silences. The Tangle Wire basically means that Swords to Plowshares is never actually going to connect with Factory.
That's the thing is he plays the Factory, but he's never going to be able to Swords unless... Yeah, Tangle Wire. See, even Tangle Wire is good here. See, we were like, oh, it's not going to do anything.
It's turn 10, but the Tangle Wire is somehow still good.
Yeah, Tangle Wire is one of those cards. I realize the power of it in Cube. Man, that card is a backbreaker.
Cue the conversation about Tangle Wire. The debate, anyway, in the chat about Tangle Wire being bad in Cube.
Bad in Cube?
I see which side of the debate you're on. I've definitely seen the other side as well.
Oh my gosh, bad in Cube. I don't know. I can't imagine that. It always beats me. Like, I'm the person who never drafts a Tangle Wire and always loses to the Tangle Wire, so.
Wow. Second Thorn is huge. Second Tangle Wire is going to finish this off. It looks like Ochoa's Mishra's Factory is going to get there. Yeah. Williams is thinking right now, the Tangle Wire is almost down to the point where he can point to swords as that Mishra. But the second Tangle Wire is going to ice this game.
Yeah. And you know what? Williams' hand looked so good. I thought he had such a great hand for shop.
I did too.
And I thought Webb's hand was so anemic. Like, he mulliganed. Like, he had the fragmentize in the swords, and it kind of did what this deck does best. It just, like, slowly bled you to death.
Like a boa constrictor.
Yes, exactly.
I think part of what happened is that Webb top decked a strip mine, and Williams has basically not drawn land this game, right? That's the one Tundra off the one Flooded Strand. He hasn't drawn land since turn 2, and that's despite casting a Gitaxian Probe and a Preordain. I mean, his Brainstorm had to get exiled, but yeah, I mean, Williams has just not drawn any lands. Now, the Mentor deck is light on lands. That's part of the way. This is how the Shops deck wins the matchup. But yeah, turn 13, and Williams has gone like 10 turns without drawing a land.
Mm-hmm.
And getting his basic island strip mine was definitely a beating.
That was bad. Yeah, it is restricted for a reason.
All right, Tangle Wire resulting in a scoop, or is Williams still fishing for information? He knows he's dead at this point. He's just wondering if he'll get to see any more cards.
If I'm Williams, I'm looking. His list looks pretty. I mean, it looks pretty similar to the ones that have been seen play recently.
Yep.
But it definitely doesn't hurt.
All right. David Ochoa takes the 1-0 lead. Shops does what Shops does.
Yeah, it was. If he would have been able to draw some land or have something that was able to get him some mana, I think that game could have pivoted and been very different, but it wasn't. So now he will be battling back, and hopefully David Williams will be able to win, and we'll get a game 3 to see who will reign superior of the Davids.
Kind of a nice little snapshot of the current vintage metagame this week, right? 2 flavors of Mentor, a Shops deck, and an Outcome deck. It's basically, that's vintage right now.
Yeah, it's kind of like that rock, paper, scissors type of metagame going on. I think the way I sort of see vintage now is when you're signing up for a tournament, you either have to be playing Force of Will or you have to be playing Sphere of Resistance. Like, those are your ways of dealing with it. Because even even with the combo decks, like, most of them play Force.
True.
Yeah. So, looking at what they're sideboarding in, I can't really.
Ochoa is taking those Tangle Wires out, despite all the good they did him there.
Yeah.
Caracases looked like they came in at the end. Probably expecting some JVP.
Oh, speak of the devil in here. Oh.
It's a quick mulligan. We're missing a card off screen for Williams. Ochoa's hand is good.
I think his hand was Williams' last hand had no land. From what I could see as quickly as it flashed. Are we not missing a card, or?
We're missing a card from Williams' hand.
Okay. The old value time walk.
Yeah, all sorts of plowshares. It's a good card.
That's for sure.
Wow, he's gonna have a DAC in play before Webb gets a turn.
Yeah.
Not bad. And he's got a wasteland for the workshop or the whatever.
DAC doing work.
Interesting. All 4 of those cards are good in the matchup. What do you discard?
Oh.
Apparently the plow and the preordain.
I guess it's like his ideology is like, with DAC he can take whatever he wants. He can waste if he has like a workshop, and then Stone Silence will kind of like pick up the rest.
Yeah, Williams played this game to do him dirty. He's like, I'll take the ones that just say no spells for you. I'm going to blow up your land. I'm going to turn off your moxes.
Can you really feel bad for the Shops player who plays like wastes and spears? Like,
Not even a little bit.
Like, live by the sword, die by the sword.
And there's the victory condition, that mana crypt. It's not even going to tap for mana.
Nope.
Although Revoker naming Dak is pretty good.
That is pretty good.
Thorn of Amethyst was going to make sure this Revoker resolves, and now Dak has been turned off. Interesting. No land. Is Ochoa just not going to... Okay, he does play land.
This would be like, can't waste me when I have no land.
Down goes Tundra, so Stony Silence is off, and Williams draws the Volcanic. I don't... Yeah, interesting. Plays the Volcanic. Yeah, all of a sudden he can't cast the Stony Silence. His Wasteland doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Keeping the Plow wouldn't have helped.
No, because of the waste. So if he... Let's say he top decks even if he top decks a Tundra, you really wish that you had the swords now instead.
I mean, Stony Silence is still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, though. Like, 3/3 Hangerback, 5 power worth of creatures on Ochoa's side of the board now.
Yeah.
It's a little late for the mana disruption strategy.
Yeah.
Tundra.
That's why I'm thinking, like, you... Obviously, hindsight's 20/20. I don't think it was a bad decision, but you would have been a lot happier if you had the swords, the Revoker, take whatever you want with Dak. It would look a lot better.
Fair.
But hindsight is 20/20.
All right. Stony Silence means Ochoa's down to an Ancient Tomb for mana.
I think the question will sit is if he even needs it.
Right. I could see these creatures going all the way.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, he's going to finish Dak off. So 2 Revoker attacks toward Dak means the top deck Source of Plowshares doesn't save his Planeswalker anymore. Ochoa once again kills the Tundra. Smart. I assume Williams plays 3 of them.
Yeah, I think it was a thorough play by Ochoa to kill the Dak. Like, David's playing a variety of removal in his deck, and it could swing the game so quickly back in his favor that even though it took you off of having, like, the pressure on his life total, it was a better choice overall.
This race is kind of close, though. If Ochoa loses every coin flip, he actually dies to the Mana Crypt before he attacks for 11. And now there's a blocker / Planeswalker. This is actually kind of a close race. It's Ochoa against his own Mana Crypt. Lost the flip, down to 9. Oh, Ravager. No, Stony Silence. Ravager cannot eat the crypt. All it does is add to the clock. I mean, I feel
like lately in VSL, it has really been coming down to, like, Mana Crypt flips. I feel like people have either won all their Mana Crypt flips or lost all their Mana Crypt flips.
All right. 5 damage. This is going to knock Williams to 6.
So he values being able to turn him into the Planeswalker so he doesn't just throw him under the bus.
Yeah, I think that's right. Interesting.
That's good.
Oof. Now he has to discard one of them. It's not good.
I think as much as you don't want to, I think with the Thorn and stuff, I think you'd rather just have the Mentor. Right?
Are you willing to crack a fetch land? It's very relevant to the clock. I guess it's not that relevant. There's 6 power now, so the Ravager actually was a very relevant addition to the clock. Mm-hmm. Jace's -2 is going to mean Williams can survive an attack. Also, this Mentor can get involved. Mm-hmm. Mentor just straight up blocks Ravager. Stony Silence is like, I got your back. Don't worry. All right, Mana Crypt flip. Survey says
4.
Loses the flip down to 4.
Oh my gosh, Crucible.
Hangerback is a 1/3 because of the Jace activation. So only the Revoker can attack? How bizarre. 2 damage. Here's a 3-mana Gitaxian Probe. That's not very exciting. So he can use Jace to flashback, a Plow now?
Mm-hmm.
So if he goes and swords the Plowshares cost 2 mana, only 1 Thorn has actually managed to get into play. So he can either Jace flashback the swords on Hangerback. Oh, but then he's got to face an attack. He gets attacked for 2 down to 1. Or he can do the play he did last time. He still gets attacked down to 1. What a crazy game!
Yeah, I think you have to flashback the swords, right?
I think so. I think you flashback the swords on Hangerback, exiling it so that the tokens don't spill onto the battlefield. Yeah, he thought about it and decided on exactly that. Okay. So here comes flashback on swords. David's going to go to 1 on his next turn.
This is pretty...
Actually, he puts Ochoa in the spot where Ochoa may have to play defense or just die to a mentor attack. Yeah, the fact that the sword makes a monk token is also great. So he can trade the monk token for the Ravager. Yeah, I think David's just got this.
It's looking pretty good. I never call it in Vintage, even though it feels pretty much in one person's favor.
I don't know how Ochoa wins this. Williams can flashback a Time Walk next turn.
If there's anything that... I'm trying to think of anything in his deck that he could draw that would change it.
Could have flashed back a Time Walk that turn, in fact. I don't know. Was he going to pay life for this Gitaxian Probe? I don't know about that. He is going to pay life for Gitaxian Probe. Extra blocker, but now he's dead to a Walking Ballista. No, he's not, because of the Stony Silence. God, Stony Silence is so good.
Stony Silence, yeah.
So that's not actually... I guess going to 1 just isn't risky with Stony Silence is there.
It's true. It feels bad, but...
So this does also give him a 4/4 mentor, which means Ochoa is either chump blocking or risking death via Mana Crypt on the spot. Modular still works. Revoker's now a 3/2. Mana Crypt flip. Survey says he won that one.
That one's okay. Stony Silence ended up being pretty backbreaking.
Yep.
And he got to cast that swords eventually, too.
Right. Sure looks like we're headed to game 3.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting. In both games, I felt like the other person was a little bit favored, and it kind of flip-flopped as the match sort of played out. Although the turn 1 deck was pretty ridiculous against his deck.
Yeah, Ochoa had a much better first turn than I thought he could have after we saw what Williams did. All right. Flashes back to Time Walk. This is going to create... Basically, it's lethal. It's not lethal this turn, but the attack on the Time Walk turn will now be lethal. Mm-hmm. Ochoa has no choice but to block here. But the trio of 1/1s will get the job done.
He's not going to let him die to the Mana Crypt.
You don't want to count on that if you don't have to.
No. I guess no stat points.
On to game 3.
Kind of like watching this matchup in the sense that it's like, I feel like it's one of those, like, currently at least, and for a long time, it's one of like the pillar matches that you will see when you play Vintage. Like, if you go to any Vintage tournament, you're going to see this.
Yeah, it's been an interesting little dance over the last 6 months, too. There have been, the cards that have gotten printed in the recent sets have actually been very relevant. Mm-hmm. You know, it felt like Mentor had the edge, and, paradoxical outcome decks were the way to beat Mentor. So the Mentor deck started trying to set itself up to make sure it could beat outcome instead of shops. But Walking Ballista definitely helps the shops deck, and definitely helps the shops deck in this matchup specifically. So which one do you think is advantaged now that Ballista exists?
I still like Mentor.
I think I do too, but I feel like it's just
bias. I don't know. I think that like Stony Silence actually is awesome because it's great against Outcome and it's great against Shop. So it's kind of like your catch-all type of situations. It is sort of, it can be awkward in the Mentor decks, especially I like to play a lot of like the off-color Moxes just to trigger Mentor and like power out your Mentor super early. But it can sometimes be awkward against your own self, but it's of course way worth it because it completely hoses the other two decks.
David Ochoa has a Chalice of the Void in his opener for Game 3. He is on the play. Do you Chalice 0 or do you Chalice 1?
I wouldn't Chalice 0, personally.
I think Chalice 1. Like, if I didn't have the ability to cast Chalice 1 on the first turn, maybe I would Chalice 0, try to catch him with a bunch of Moxes. But the Stony Silence main versions of the Mentor deck tend to only play the on-color Moxes. Like, I think Williams doesn't have as many Moxes as you do. So Chalice 0 is better against you than it is against Williams. This looks to me like, I mean, if you Chalice 1 against Mentor, so insane. Hits the Plows, hits the Fragmentize.
It's pretty good.
Most of the cantrips.
Recall, they're one up. No. Well, the thing is, the good thing about Chalice on 1 is it really doesn't affect you at all if you're the Shops player.
Right. You have, like, a Soul Ring.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And usually that doesn't even come into play.
Right. All right. Basic Island is a solid draw for Williams. He's going to... Yeah, here's the dance, though, of... All right, a Thorn, a land. A Sphere, a land.
So it looks like he's hovering over the factor. He hasn't decided yet. I just think Swords is so good against you if you're a Shops deck that if you possibly can, you're going to want to do it on 1.
Yeah, that Chalice 1 looks insane here.
Yeah.
Thorn. Williams draws a Gush. Another card where the Thorn punishes him. It feels like if David can get to Monastery Mentor, he can totally win this game.
Yeah.
The question is he ever actually going to get there? Thorn doesn't slow down Mentor, but the Sphere that Ochoa is about to play will.
Yes. It's kind of, I think against the Shops deck like when you're playing Mentor, the hands that do best against them are hands that are a little bit more, like have a little bit more of a fast element. Now, Williams, of course, did have his swords and things like that in his hands, which are early interaction pieces that kind of smooth out your draw. But when you're kind of just like playing like a naked Mentor on turn 3, even if you do get a chance to play it on turn 3, which in this case won't happen, those are usually, I feel like, the games that you lose. Because they have so much more things already going on.
Sphere Resistance first is how Ochoa chose to sequence this. Now here comes a Revoker. I think you blind name Dak Faden.
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
Trying to see. Should pop up.
And that's what he does. Blind names Dak Faden, and he's right. There is one over there. Although 5-mana Dak Faden may never come to play.
No. But there's not that many other things. I guess I'm trying to think of what else you would even want to name with it.
I mean, you can name Moxes. You can name Blackwoods.
Yeah. I'm not even sure they would have that much of an impact on the game right now, though, because of the taxing effects.
All right. Revoker's going to start chipping away. Mistress Factory is eventually going to start chipping away. Is Williams ever going to get to cast a spell? That is the game we're playing. Can't cast the ones. Well, they get countered anyway.
Oh, I'm having like flashbacks to my play tournament because I feel like this happened to me. It was a little bit it was the Eldrazi deck, but just if I was just like a slight like curve ahead, and I think that's what the Mentor deck kind of needs. Like that's why I was saying I think it needs like a little bit of a faster start, because as long as you can just get a little bit ahead, you are in a good position.
Yeah. Attack with Mistress Factory is what Ochoa has decided on. Okay, he's gonna what? Play another Revoker here? Sure. More Dak Faden insurance.
Yeah, you wouldn't want it to get swords, you know, with that chalice.
God, Chalice is so good.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chalice is definitely something that was the story of this game. If he didn't have that Chalice, if it was just something else, like those swords would be on, this would have been a completely different game. But that's usually the case when someone has a restricted card in their hand. One of the things that I am playing in my mentor list is I'm playing of main deck Sudden Shock, and I'm playing another Sudden Shock in the board. Hopefully that gives me a little bit more.
Yeah, I saw that.
Trying to think if he played that, I don't think it would have changed it, but it is better against Chalice on 1. It gives you a little bit more.
Do you have less than 4 plows, or is that just what's on top of the 4 swords?
Well, I think he's playing like the typical like mentor deck that just touches on the red.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got Stony Silence main, whereas you do not.
Yeah.
I mean, Ochoa's just got to figure out. This is combat math time. Does he play a Walking Ballista, or is he better off spending his mana activating Mishra's Factory? Decides he's not going to give away a Mishra's Factory attack. 6 down to 10. Can't quite cut a turn off this clock here, so. Or does he? Sapphire. He can play a 2/2 Ballista, which gives him an attack for 8 next turn. And then throw 2 tokens. But he declines. Oh, he can't play a 2/2 Ballista because I forgot the sphere effect the second time.
I don't think it'll end up mattering. So if you're Williams, I'm trying to think of what you're thinking about how you can get out of this predicament.
I mean, he can play a mentor. He's got 4 mana finally. I don't think it's going to be good enough, but I mean, that's what he's got. There's 1 card in his hand that can be played.
Yeah. Wonder what he's considering.
That's fair. I guess hypothetically he could play the Stony Silence instead. Does have that second card that can now be played with the 4th mana. He's going to go Stony Silence.
I can see that.
I don't think that helps him. I think he has to play Mentor, cross his fingers, and hope he gets to untap and start making monk tokens.
I guess I don't see how either of them actually end up with him winning, but I think you have a higher likelihood with Mentor.
Right, and we know there's a Walking Ballista sitting in Ochoa's hand, so it kind of makes all this academic.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the only chance you have from Williams' seat is play the Mentor.
I think so too. Which I don't think he hasn't played it, so I don't think he's sold on the Stony. He was kind of hovering over the Stony Silence, but I don't think he's sold on it either.
All right, here comes Monastery Mentor. He does get to play a spell.
Oh man, it's brutal.
All right. Does Ochoa actually have a kill here? It feels like he probably does. Ancient Tomb's like another ballista counter too, right?
Yeah. So let's see if he...
Yeah. He can have 9 mana. He can make a 4/4 ballista if he doesn't spend mana activating Mishra's Factory. Or I think he can make a 3/3 ballista and activate Mishra's Factory. which is all but lethal.
That looks like the line he's taking. This is leaving the.
And because of the thorn and the sphere, he knows David can't respond. He can't counter this. He can't create a prowess trigger for the Mentor.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, 3/3 Ballista, I think you plink the Mentor twice and then attack for 6.
I think so. I think that's what maybe he's just trying to figure out the best way the most mana efficient way to get this done.
Yeah, 3/3 Ballista goes onto the stack, and Williams immediately pushes the concede button. So David Ochoa wins the David versus David mirror match. Shops picks up the W. And there we go.
Mentor is not having a good week right now.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Mentor is 0-2 at this point. What do we got next? Oh, it's you. You get to be the one to try to seek vengeance for David. All right. Here's our standing so far. Everybody's played once. You see that Ochoa has picked up the thumbs up. Williams accumulates a thumbs down. And we're going to go play game 3. It's going to be you against Webb. Now, what are your thoughts going into this? I mean, crossing the fingers, hoping for good draws, sure. But this is a matchup I'm sure you were expecting.
Mm-hmm.
You feel pretty good about it?
Yeah, with Shops, it's you never know because they can have those just super crazy hands. So it does come down a lot to draws, how they draw, how I draw. If it's totally even, I feel like I have maybe a slight edge, but then again, he's also a phenomenal player, so that might give him a little bit more back of an edge against me. So hopefully, all I can hope for is that I have a good opening hand and we get to actually play some Magic, which doesn't always happen against Shops decks.
Well, when you get to play Magic, it's usually bad news for the Shops player. But
Hey.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back with round number 3.